Everybody, welcome to the Breakdown, the podcast covering all things Supporters Gaming League. I'm your host, Debit, and I am joined by my co-host, Sean. How are you doing, sir?
I am wonderful. After having gone through all of the matchups and the teams and the standings, the current standings, which we will go through on air, this last week is shaping up in SGL1 especially to be very, very worth watching.
Absolutely. And after a little bit less of an action-packed Friday night, it did cause for a lot of interesting matchups and situations and potential upsets as teams move up here in the standings. But we'll get to that shortly. Be back in a minute to talk SGL1. Back, everybody. Time to jump into SGL1 action. We're going to start off with our top three this time around. And last week we did have an opportunity to discuss our top three, and we mentioned that some caveats would happen based on one matchup, and that was the KC Cauldron versus Louisville Coopers. And after that matchup ended up 2-1 in favor of the Cauldron, let's redo this top three now that we've done a little bit of standings, mixing around, and also seeing what the actual tables look like. So I'll go first, and then I'll jump into you. I don't think anything's going to change from our top two. I think that's pretty evident. Number one, Roadies. Number two, Cinco Dose. But the third spot is where we differed last time.
Yeah.
But there also is a new team in the mix. Someone that has come up. Granted, a couple of them through forfeits. But honestly, credit to them for doing what they can to get this far. And after all the results I've seen so far, I am not changing my top three. That third spot is still staying at the Cauldron. You thought I was going to change, but no, I did not. How about you?
You know, this is such a tough one to call. And here's the interesting thing. We'll talk about this here in a minute, but the two teams that basically are vying for that third place spot, top three, they face each other this week to close out the season. Guys, do you realize how incredible this last week is going to be in terms of the top, six teams? Because, holy cow. With that said, man, all right, I'm going to go with my gut, and I'm going to go KC Cauldron. So,
oh my gosh,
Roadies, Lacinco, and Cauldron. But boy, I am, I've seen a lot of Dark Clouds and, this season, and I do feel like they have started to show, in the few matches we've got to see them play in the last couple weeks, that they still are one of the top teams. And it's not a knock on Dark Clouds at all. It's just, man, Cauldron right now are, look, Louisville are a good team, and Cauldron felt a little of that pressure, from Louisville, and I think that's good. I don't think Dark Clouds have been pushed to nearly that level by any other team in Group A, with the exception of Lacinco, but that, again, was expected. Whereas with Cauldron, they've been fighting, and they've had Louisville kind of on the nipping at their heels this entire season, and Cauldron have shown that they are good enough. But boy, that Louisville point was massive on this season, just across the board in so many ways.
100%. Definitely tilted my vote a bit more. I know I said after that result we'd probably have either me saying the same, and I think at the beginning of the season, had we done this from the get-go, I think I would have had Dark Clouds toward my top. And then also Southmost did show him a good run. I believe they took 2 out of 3 from Dark Clouds, so that obviously throw a little bit of a wrench into things. But seeing how things are shaping up, we might have another top 3 at the end of this coming week as well. So
yeah, and it's, boy, there's a lot. Boy, I feel like this needs to be that episode of the season that we break down all of the permutations that can happen based on specific results, because we're not going to, but I feel like we could, because if Dark Clouds and Cauldron facing each other again, Lacinco Dose and Roadies facing each other at this point in the season, it's really for first place in the league. Roadies want that undefeated season. They want to take all 3 from Lysenko, but even if they only take 1 point from Lysenko, well, actually, if they only take one, no, if they take 1 point from Lysenko, they will still win the season. So as long as they take at least 1. Now, again, they're going to go for all 3. But if Lysenko Dose manages to take all 3, they will move into first place in the season. And then there's the Dark Clouds Cauldron match. And we're not even previewing the match. The permutation is so incredible to me with the standings. Dark Clouds are on 11. Cauldron are on 11 points. We did the math prior to the show. And so you've got, and they're both in different groups, of course. But what's interesting about this is Southmost is at 8 and Louisville's at 9. If Cauldron were to falter, Louisville could theoretically move into second place. If Dark Clouds were to falter, Southmost could end up tied with them. And then what do you know what tiebreaker is this season? Is it goals? Goal differential?
I would have to imagine it's goal differential than head-to-head. That's what at least I'd imagine. If we had complete stats and updated rules on that, we would definitely have that out there. But I'd have to see it for myself up close.
It is being worked on. But yeah, so then I guess it would be very difficult for Southmost to move into second place over Dark Clouds because if I remember correctly, Dark Clouds took all 3 from Southmost or 2 out of 3 from Southmost. So they have the head-to-head.
Took 2 out of 3.
Okay. Southmost won 2 out of 3?
Yeah, I believe that's how it went.
Oh, boy, it's been a whole long season. Okay, well, that changes things because then Southmost theoretically could move into second place if Dark Clouds drops all 3 to Cauldron. Again, permutations on top of permutations. So many things can happen here. But your top 4 right now, Lysenko Dose at 13 points in Group A. Second place in Group A right now is Dark Clouds at 11 points. Southmost in Group A at in third with 8 points. Again, knocking on the door. Libre C Locas with 6. Steel Army with 5. You guys right there able to potentially move into 5th place. And then ESR with 2 points. Looking at Group B, you've got Roadies on top with 15, undefeated season on the line. Cauldron with 11. Not able to catch up to the Roadies. Same with Dark Clouds. Technically, they could catch up to Lysenko Dose. Oh boy, I didn't even realize that. Whoa, hold on. Dark Clouds could theoretically, if Dark Clouds take all 3 and Lysenko drop all 3, Dark Clouds could become top team in Group A.
Mm-hmm.
And Lysenko are facing Roadies, so it is very possible that we could see that happen. Oh, man, and those are the final 2 matchups of the week, by the way. So Friday night is going to be absolutely lit. I don't care when you join, but join before the final 2 matchups. That's all I'm saying.
You're absolutely not allowed to miss this coming week.
I don't care if you have a USL or an MLS match to go watch. I don't care if you're at a wedding. Pull out your damn phone. For this one this week, just put it on mute. Just watch. If you're at a wedding, the groom will understand. The bride won't have to know if you're smart.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, this is the week to not miss at least those 2 matchups. There's some other good ones, but those are the 2 really good ones. Anyways, Group B, Roadies at 15, like I said, Cauldron at 11, Louisville at 9, right behind them. Again, like we said, Louisville could move into second place if Cauldron dropped 3 to Dark Clouds, which becomes really interesting. Mad Hat at 4, no chance to catch up there. Los Verdes at 3, probably not going to change there as well. And then Mint City we have at 0. Of course, the Los Verdes Mint City numbers are based upon not really knowing the result from last week because that's still up in the air and that's still questionable. Neither team has been awarded the forfeit points, I believe, at this point. So we just left them kind of where they were because we were confused and didn't know what to do. So again, though, the top 3 teams in both groups, just close enough to just throw everything into the mixer and see what comes out type thing.
Exactly, because we might end up talking permutations anyway at this point. Because, like you said,
I kind of already have, but yeah,
yeah, pretty much. We could see Dark Clouds on top of Group A.
Yeah,
we could see Lysenko taking. You want to call it the President's Trophy?
Sure,
I guess you want to call it.
Sure, let's call it the Commissioner's Cup. I think that sounds better.
Hockey and soccer's term. Whatever. We got both of them. Louisville could move back up into second after dropping 2 to the Cauldron.
Oh, you know what we should call it? Hold on, I'm gonna sidetrack this for just a second. You know what we should call this? It should be the Cringe Said Cup.
You know what? Comments.
There, yes.
Tell me. Yeah. Tell me in the comments.
Yeah.
Please tell me right at this moment.
That's right.
Drop what you're doing and just type.
Yep. And we will see what the timestamp is, everyone. We will know. Also important, if you do type it into the comments, if you see nobody is saying anything in SGL chat, make sure you also say something in there to get people to watch this show. Thanks, we appreciate it. Shameless plug.
That's what it's all about. But yes, like all the differentials that can happen. Like Libre C Locos, technically, after all they did and sweeping Southmost and what was a thriller, they could end up being the 5th place team and Steel Army moving up in the 4th potentially after this week, depending on how results go.
Speaking of shameless plugs, right?
Plugging my own team, yeah.
All the more power.
But that's just reality of the league.
Yeah.
We can have so many different situations happen that literally this Friday night is like, no. You're not allowed to miss. There's
I'm gonna need like we're gonna need to I'm gonna have to talk to Alan about this. We might have to have like a 30-minute after show to go through everything that just took place and where the teams stand after the week. I mean, because there's a lot. Just how did we get to this point in these 4 teams? I mean, these 6 teams really all so close together that it's not decided yet for this league at all. Like nothing is technically decided yet across any of those top 3 spots. In either group, which is just absurd. It's absurd to me because I didn't expect that level of parity at the top. I really didn't.
No, I think that's just excellent selection on the groups at this point. Seeing how crazy this could turn out, and seeing that week 6 matchup where we get the interleague play, that just ends up actually being the most wrenches that you could ever throw into this league.
And well played by the admin when coming up with scheduling to have Lysenko versus Roadies in the final match of the season, to have Dark Clouds versus Cauldron in the final match of the season. Just, I mean, well played to hit those particular matchups on the final week and put them at the very end of the show, like that that day. Just, I mean, it all sets up to be just incredible. Well, we've talked permutations. Do you want to talk about the actual matches that are going on?
Yeah, we have to preview them because we've only talked about like the 17 different situations that can happen because of these matchups. But to get an actual formal listing of the actual matchups that you can catch on Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, by the way, twitch.tv/supportersgamingleague. Starting off with the first one, Eastside Rising versus Louisville Coopers. A little bit of a mismatch, I guess, in terms of skill we're looking at. Plus, Eastside, we actually have not seen that team due to other factors right now, causing a couple forfeits from their team. But, man, if they could bring out the 3 in SGL2, I know I've said it before a lot, but I'll be honest, if I see the 3 out there versus the Louisville Coopers, I'm actually intrigued to see what they can do, because if there's anything that they can do after proving what they can do in SGL2 last season, it's to go out in SGL1 with a bang, having been eliminated from playoff contention. And then for Louisville Coopers, they could be taking second if they take all 3 against Eastside Rising. Potentially, given what the Cauldron do.
I look again, coming back into this week, we don't know the status of ESR going into this week. That's a huge question mark.
Yep.
Because ESR could theoretically push Louisville Coopers. I'm not saying they necessarily would. Louisville, again, very good team. But if ESR does have a full roster, or at least are at least able to play, that can throw a wrench into Louisville's plans. We don't know. We'll find out. But I think, honestly, looking at it, I mean, you got to feel pretty strong that Louisville are going to take all 3 points, regardless if ESR has, and they're not going to have a full squad because we know that Sporty's not available either way. So it's going to be, it's going to be the team that we've seen from ESR if they're able to get all 3 of them together. And just again, with Louisville taking all 3, you pointed it out, that puts them a point ahead of Cauldron, with the Cauldron match to come up later that night against Dark Clouds. Just talk about it, Louisville could absolutely put the pressure on Cauldron to have to beat Dark Clouds, and that's what I'm hoping for. I want that level of pressure to be across the board for the top, basically the 4 teams at the top of, the 2 groups. I would love for Louisville to take all 3, and I would love for Southmost to take all 3 from their match. But it is just, ESR versus Louisville. I mean, you look at it, you know how good Lore is, you know how good the guy whose name I can't think of off the top of my head. What just happened? The other guy, Tim, and then who's their third that I can't think of? That's the one I'm blanking on.
Was it Gargan?
Gargan. That's right. Tim and Gargan. Look, Tim and Gargan hold up on their own, but when you obviously track them in there with Lore, it's a formidable team. There's a reason they've taken points off of some of the better teams in the league, and with that, that's going to be a tough out no matter who it is. It's going to be a tough match. So Louisville, again, I think 3 points. And I know we're not doing predictions, but I just, I feel like we almost have to because of the situation we're in.
I think we can expect that at this point, at least based on what we see. And I would agree with you in that case, just based off what we've seen from Louisville. Even if ESR bring out a full squad, we want to see them contend. But I think look at the likelihood. Good chance Louisville put on the pressure against the Cauldron. By the way, for those a little unfamiliar, this isn't like Championship Sunday. These matchups are not played at once, so they get to watch what the other team is doing, and then that match will determine their fate. That does it for that first matchup. Let's move on to the next one. Again, before we get to the real kicker of the night, Mid-City Collective versus Libre C Locos. We have no idea. We have literally no idea. Mid-City could be there. Libre C Locos could be there. They could not be there. And honestly, I would really love both teams to show up. I really want to see a matchup for those two because Libre C Locos are going to need whatever they can bring to make sure they maintain that 4th spot and keep it away from Steel Army. And Mid-City, I know some of them are like, SGL2 bound, but take something away from it. Ruin somebody else's fun.
Another shameless opportunity there.
Yeah, not. What are you talking about?
It's a joke. I mean, what happens if Mint City don't have 2 and Libre C Locos don't have 2?
Do we have then? Complete chaos.
I mean, it's what we had Friday, technically. Why not again? I mean, that has to be asked at this point because both teams have had forfeits this season. Both teams have had issues getting full squads to play. And Mint City have been one of the bigger, one of the teams that has managed to find a way to get 2 consistently, with the exception of last week. And they still had 1 show up. Libre C Locos last week had to forfeit because they couldn't get 3 or couldn't get 2, and Super's not available. So it just again throws it all into the blender. Just what comes out is what comes out. But I mean, if it's played, I don't think there's a doubt that you have to go Libre C Locos 3. But if it's not a played match, then it just comes down to the admin decision. I think at that point how that one goes.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. But we'll let that one play out as is. Not much we could do besides speculate. But let's preview these last 4 matchups.
Yeah, these are the exciting ones.
I can't believe I could say that I'm part of the exciting matchups.
Hey, y'all have played well. Just you've run into the meat grinder that is SGL1.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. But Southmost versus Mad Hat Massive. 2 teams I always love to see squaring off because it seems like those matchups are always decided by 1 goal.
I think that the question in this matchup is, do Mad Hat Massive have magic? If they do, that's going to be a tougher ask for Southmost. That's not to say Southmost can't, it's not a winnable series for them, but it's definitely not a guaranteed series for them for sure.
No, not in the slightest. And for Southmost, this is an opportunity to at least tie for second and potentially, depending on tiebreaker procedures, like actually claim second based on a tiebreaker, depending on how Dark Clouds does. But for Mad Hat, get any sort of security to wave, because honestly, looking at the bottom 2 of Los Verdes and Mid-City, they could technically be knocked out based off of that, just off that past week of that 2v2 with the Roadies, which would be really unfortunate to end their season. But Hey, look at this. This matchup has more to it for Mad Hat than it definitely does for Southmost, because Southmost is guaranteed.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about sitting on 8, but if Southmost take all 3, that puts them at 11. That puts them tied at second with Dark Clouds, having to face the Cauldron later on in the night. Please, just go ahead and do it, Southmost. Like, I know Steel Army doesn't want to hear that. Well, it doesn't matter, I guess. All the same, like, I would love for Southmost to take all 3 here just to see the sheer chaos that is going to ensue in those final 2 matches.
Yep, I'm all for the chaos, no matter what happens. That does it for that matchup. Moving on. Steel Army. Los Verdes. Depending on what Libres y Locos has in store. Or even Southmost, depending on tiebreaker procedures.
Sure.
This could be an opportunity for them to jump in the 4th. And for Los Verdes, depending on what that ruling is later on, they could somehow be in 4th spot as well if they win against Steel Army. It's 2 5th seed.
I don't want to
salvage.
I don't want to put this on you. I don't. But you need to know this. Technically, there's a chance for 3rd place for you.
Given potential tiebreakers, yes.
Technically, it is there for the taking. Technically. You need Southmost, obviously, to lose all 3 against Mad Hat, and you need Libres y Locos to lose, drop the 3 points to Mint City. But yeah, I mean, it's there. The possibility exists.
Bring me the chaos. As I said before, just keep piling on the chaos. What an ending.
It would be insane to see you guys jump from 5th to 3rd in the final week of the season.
Oh, we wouldn't deserve it, but we'd be there.
So here's the great part. You guys will know what you have to do in that matchup.
Oh, 100%.
Because you'll already know the result of the Libres y Locos and Southmost matches because they happen right before your match.
Yep.
So then your match happens. Let's say that happens and you guys bump up into 3rd. I'm just throwing it out there. No offense to Los Verdes, but I'm calling this for Steel Army 3-0. I've done that all season and you guys haven't showed up, so I'm expecting it this week. You better do the thing, damn it.
I'm bringing my absolute A game, even if I miss every ball.
Hey, at least you're going to try.
Going 100 miles an hour.
That's right. At least you're going to try. If that happens, I'm just asking it right now because I got to know. Do you have any idea who you would send into the post-game player interview?
I don't know how my teammates do with interviews. Some of them, or one of them says that he stumbles over his words a lot. The other one could do pretty well. I don't know. He's never done that sort of thing, but he's a teacher, so I guess he could probably do it pretty well. And I'm me. You know me well enough. So I don't know. I really don't know. I'd say let's just bring us all in and we just shout.
I was wondering. I was like, hey, I wonder if we could just bring all 3 in simultaneously. The next question I have is, if you guys take all 3, even if you don't, are you going to join us in the booth for the final 2 matchups? Because I know you're going to watch.
Oh, I'm 100% watching, but I guess if you'd have me and you're able to coordinate the stream to actually work that way.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Dang it.
I mean, I guess if
all right, Psionics, I need lobbies for 15 people. Thanks.
I meant more for stream, but
well,
actually, no, that could work because we do have room for 1 additional person in lobby, assuming a team doesn't bring in 4.
Yeah.
But
we'll talk about that offline.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
But all the same, I was just curious because I'm like, man, this is like these 2 final matchups. We just talked about Steel Army versus Los Verdes, the Cauldron versus Dark Clouds, the Rodius versus Los Cinco Doce. You can't script it. Apparently, you can. Thank you, admins. You can't script it better than this in week 6 of the season, where these 2 final matches of the season have so much riding on them, and they might have even more riding on them by the end of those first 4 matches of the week. We just don't know yet what all is going to shake out. But I mean, it's like it's that final week of the NFL season where you have the wild card teams sitting in you have 6 teams at the wild card hunt, and all of them have a chance. You just need certain things to happen, and I feel like I need a big board, and if these guys do this and this, then they move up, and it just, I think if we can manage to make it work, I think it would be great, even if you were on audio only, to just be able to have an extra person in there, because there's just so much right now that just so much. There's gonna be so much to digest at that point.
I'm not gonna lie, I almost wished we could do video, because then I could be like a Steve Kornacki from NBC, like how he did like all those playoff predictions and whatnot for NFL before. Yeah. Basically just break down everything there. We'll
need 30 minutes between series, but hey.
But so Cauldron deserves it.
Yeah, so Cauldron versus Dark Clouds. I mean, look, I'm going to be honest. These last two, I'm not predicting either of them because I just don't know. And nobody should be able to go, oh, yeah, that's a surefire win for the Cauldron, or that's a surefire win for Dark Clouds. Oh, hell no. Nobody knows. That's a surefire win for the Roadies over Lisinko Dose. Oh, no, we saw what happened last season. We know full well that's not a certainty. So, I mean, yeah, this is it's so perfect. Like, I just can't.
No,
those two matchups are the equivalent of the NYC 12 Tigers SG matchup from last week in SGL2.
Yeah, I agree with you, because you're looking, that's pretty much actually is the top 4 teams going at it, and I dare you to try. I dare you to try predicting it.
It's even better because it's interleague play. It's not. Or intergroup play, if you will. They're not from the same group, so it's even like, and you have to wonder: are the Roadies going to root for the Cauldron to beat Dark Cloud? Like, is there a little bit of group versus group action going on there? I don't know, but it's just there's so many. Oh man, I love this. I absolutely love this. Kudos to the admins for throwing it together, making it somehow winding up exactly where they probably hoped and it would anyways. And man, whoever you are, if you haven't seen the stream and it has already aired, go watch the VOD, because I'm guaranteeing you're missing some of the best SGL play you've ever seen.
Absolutely. 100%. And we only have recent memory in the playoffs of these 4 teams ever even playing each other. And just for your information on the Cauldron Dark Clouds, last time they played, Cauldron almost reverse swept in a best of 7. So that's how you're already lining up for a 3-game series on Friday.
Whoo, man. Yeah. I feel sorry for anybody who's not able to watch the stream this week live, because I feel like they're going to miss just so much in those last 2 matchups.
They really are. And you may think we're being a little too emotional, hyped, whatever about this instead of analytical. I can't be analytical. You just look at the teams. We gotta wait and see what happens. But for now, just get excited. And that's gonna wrap it up for SGL 1 after, oh my gosh, previewing that all and what could possibly happen in those groups. Literally anything can happen. So be sure to watch Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/supporters gaming league. And we'll catch you right back whenever we come to recap SGL 2. Welcome back, everybody. We just recapped SGL 1. Now it's time to move on to League 2 as we get right back into the top 3 of SGL 2. And looking at the past results and seeing where the current standings are, not much is going to change, I believe, in some aspects, but one particular matchup might have changed your feelings on it. It definitely changed mine. So, I'm going to let you go first this time.
Oh, my top 3? Yeah, it's U-Sector in first. They're going to end up undefeated. I'm pretty sure they have a forfeit coming their way this week. So they're going to end up at 18 points on the season, which puts them solidly in first place in the league, entire league, not just Group B, or Group C, sorry. Tigers SG at 13. Man, I'm going to give them second place, I think, at this point, but Surge, you're right there. We're at 12, and I feel like we got hit with the buzzsaw that was U-Sector this season. If it wasn't for U-Sector, I don't think we drop points this season like we haven't yet, and we shouldn't this week. U-Sector, Tigers, Surge, and I hope that riles some feathers with the NYC 12 guys because, hey, step it up. Y'all shouldn't have dropped points to Tigers.
Yeah, because I know we had slightly different because it came between one team, whether it was either Tigers or the Surge. I picked you guys, but you did kind of scare me against the Riders this past weekend. So I feel like you should have put up more, but sometimes things happen, and the way the team plays can absolutely just throw you off one way or another.
Slow teams make it very difficult because it's harder to slow yourself down than it is to increase your speed.
True. You're starting to play at their level instead of trying to, just kind of overpower them at that point. As
well as we played against Black Army, yeah, that was the antithesis of that. Like we definitely did not come out firing on all cylinders, and we were a little sketch going into that one, but I'm glad we pulled out all 3. But like I said, first U-Sector, second Tigers, and third Surge. But NYC 12, I think they have a viable claim for that third place. But I guess we'll see how it shakes out at the end of the week.
I do agree they have a viable claim to it, and seeing as how they did play Tigers, that is
the only points the only points we've dropped have been U-Sector, so you could say the same thing for us.
Yeah, that's true. You do have a point there. That's why I was gonna.
I know. I'm just saying.
Sort of lead into it,
but it's also fair. You could drop us from your third place. I get it. It's fair. But
actually, gonna give yours to a different team, not even Tigers or NYC. Not to just go completely different. Nah, but
I'm giving it to Black Army. They looked really good last week. Okay, then. All right. I'm giving it to the surging El Matador team. Oh.
Ooh, that actually would be an interesting one.
It would be. All right. So that's my top 3. Your top 3.
So even though I hate to say it, because most of their points would come from forfeit, but honestly, teams as good as they're advertised. U-Sector. I'm sorry, the team is good. I know you've only seen 1 or 2 matchups, one real one, I believe, and then one where it was a hodgepodge of 4v4 of all things, or 3v3 or something like that.
What's funny about U-Sector is they're now experiencing what we experienced kind of to open the season. And then we've hit the grinder, whereas they got the much easier schedule to close out the last 3 weeks of the season. They had the one, like you said, the one matchup, which was us. They had matchups before that, but they weren't, it was teams below them, in the standings. But yeah, I feel like they definitely got the benefit of the scheduling this season for sure. And, to be fair, they did take 3 off us, and they took 3 off us in a very convincing manner. But we also hadn't played any league play going into that matchup. So I do feel like it was one of those situations where we just came in completely unprepared and unready because we didn't know what to expect. We hadn't had a chance to play together before that in terms of against league opponents. So,
and those games actually were kept decently close. They weren't really blowouts either.
There was one that was a blowout if I remember correctly. The other 2 were close, but there was one where it was a 5-3 or 5-2 or something like that.
But yeah, number 1 to U-Sector. Number 2, I gotta go Tigers. I mean, come on. I had doubts about this team. And granted, I still somewhat do. This past matchup was a good stepping stone, but I really want to see how they perform in the playoffs, because last season kind of broke my heart a bit with how they could play. But looking at how they played against NYC 12, the offensive juggernaut, I'm pretty sure Pandy and I mentioned it like 7 times. Senor Roboto just sees an open net, and he's like, all right, I'm there. Just puts it in. It's there, on the spot. It's actually incredible how much they can find each other in space. And they technically didn't even have a full squad. They only had 3. They didn't rotate like they usually do. And to have that squad against NYC 12, granted, they did have one sub come in that usually hasn't played a ton this season. But all that said, you take 3 off first place team. Come on, you gotta get credit for that one and put yourself back in a division lead. That's totally a Tiger spot for number 2. Number 3, Surge, NYC 12, El Matador. As much as I'd love to see an up-and-comer in El Matador, I believe I have to agree with you on the 3rd spot and give it to you guys. And honestly, I think seeing the play from you guys this season, I know I can see you guys do better, but given how you've been playing recently, you're still able to fight out the wins. And NYC 12 definitely still have an argument. Still could have just been an off day, but it was off enough to get you knocked down to just below top 3. And you're still like a 3.5, but still. The Surge, all credit to you guys.
Thanks. I don't know what else to say. Yeah.
Man, why are we agreeing on everything? This is so boring.
It's the final week of this. I mean, you say it's boring. I mean, the permutations were fantastic. No, it's. Look,
no, I meant us agreeing with each other.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely boring. Yeah, this is definitely not First Take on ESPN. That's for sure. Am I allowed to say ESPN on this show? I'm just kidding.
Don't come for me, Mickey.
I think it's fair. You look at the top 4 teams. I think that the top 3 is fair. U Sector, Surge, or U Sector Tigers and Surge. Again, there's a case to be made for NYC 12. Theoretically, there's a case you could make for El Matador squeaking in there. Especially if El Matador come out and win all 3 of their matches this week, then, that changes things slightly. But at the same time, El Matador are doing it now at a point in the season where it doesn't matter for them anymore. Like, dropping the point that they did last week was huge for them. If they win that 3rd one, or take all 3 points, then they set themselves up to actually fight for a spot against NYC 12 potentially in the playoffs. It's a shame because honestly, Luis and his team deserve it. In my opinion, they've played really, really they deserve to fight for it. They don't deserve the spot, but they deserve to fight for it. Mm-hmm. So it's just. Like I said, though, you look at the top 3. I think the top 3 is fair, but definitely there's a case to be made for NYC 12, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that, straight up, to say the least.
To agree with you on that spot, but that brings us to the next topic. Let's preview these matchups. Final week of the season, intergroup play. Now, I gotta admit, although these matchups, they don't have the entire, craziness that SGL 1 can bring as far as standings go. But look at the matchups and how they're set up. That's where things get interesting. We have, to start off, Pride 812 versus Midnight Riders. And gotta look at tiebreakers again. Once again, as far as standings go. But assume Pride 812 take all 3 against Midnight Riders. Who knows who the wooden spoon of the league is? Well, minus Los Verdes too, but we've already established they don't count. Would be the active wooden spoon of SGL2. Midnight Riders could finally break out of it if they just simply take 1 point.
And it's important because Elmwood, even though they are sitting at 4 points right now, they will pick up the automatic 3 from the Los Verdes dose forfeit. So Elmwood are not even in the conversation for the wooden spoon. It is literally Pride 812, Midnight Riders. If Midnight Riders somehow manage to take a point, and I'm not saying it can't happen, but if they take a point, they secure not the wooden spoon. If they lose all 3 matches and Pride 812 are able to sneak in there and grab all 3 from them, then they're both tied at 4 points, and the head-to-head would say that Pride 812 are going to take it. So I just, good luck both teams, I guess.
Yeah. We would have never thought a wooden spoon derby would be so thrilling like this.
And to open the week, there's actually something on the line. There's pride on the line for Pride 812. But there's also the wooden spoon on the line. Like, this really does make this makes this match that much more important than it would be. And it shapes up as one of those things where you're kind of like, if you look at it at the beginning of the season, you're like, oh, that match probably won't even matter at all. And here we are. That match actually has a lot riding on it. Again, Pride 812 need to sweep the series in order to take that, to move that one spot up ahead of Riders. But, Riders only need to go out and take one. If iCurdy's available, they absolutely can do it. But don't discount Pride 812. They've shown some things this season. There's always the possibility.
Let's not forget one more thing, because this actually does have a potential. This matchup with Riders and Pride 812 could also factor in potentially the Riders moving not only in 5th place in their group, but to 4th place in their group over Viking Army. They are not out of the playoff race, if you thought that was like crazy enough as it is. I mean, even the Riders are probably thinking, oh my gosh, we have an opportunity to do this. Like, let's go for it. And I don't blame them. Go take it to Pride 812. Show us what you got. See you in the playoffs.
That all, of course, depends on how many teams make it into the playoffs. I don't have that answer yet. I've heard various reports, so I don't know.
I really hope it's top 4, because then I still have a shot, too.
Even top 3. We talked about you still technically, there's still a chance. But either way, yeah, I mean, just... Look, Riders, if they go out and they win one, they'll bump out of bottom place in the league. Or they won't bump out. They'll guarantee themselves not to hit bottom in the league. If they win all 3, you noted already, they'll likely bump ahead of Viking Army, and they will be pushing potentially... Oh, no, they can't push any. That would be it. They'd be at 7, and Black Army are currently at 8. But that would bump Viking Army. If the top 4 make it, Viking Army make it right now. I suspect we're probably looking at top 2 from each group making it. Maybe top 3. I just don't know, because it hasn't been announced yet, and I'm waiting for that announcement.
Really hoping for top 4 at this point, because we've pretty much been looking at that the entire time. As
realizing maybe you should have poured it on a little harder early on in the season, huh?
Yeah, potentially.
Mistakes were made.
But yeah, looking at all those implications, possible things on the line for not only the Riders, but Pride 812. Now, these next 2 matchups, they're not happening. We already know that for a fact. 3 days in advance. RGV Stampede are forfeiting against U-Sector. U-Sector at 18 points. They guarantee
undefeated season.
Elmwood versus Los Verdes 2. Elmwood guaranteed 3 points.
That'll put them at 7, tied with El Matador.
Now, let's look at these final 3 matchups. Because, hang on a sec. We look at this next matchup we got here. The Surge versus El Matador, the up-and-comers versus the established 2nd seed in Group C.
I know that El Matador are looking for to enact some level of vengeance upon what happened to their MLS squad this past weekend in Houston. El Capitan coming home to where it belongs in Houston. Thank you. They will be looking to enact some revenge upon us, and El Matador have come a long way this season, and they are a very good team. If we play as good as I know we can play, and the level that we played against Black Army, I think we can stand our own against El Matador and take all 3. If we play like we played against Midnight Riders, though, then El Matador have a very serious opportunity to take a point or 2. Now, the good news for us is no matter what happens in this matchup, the Surge have claimed the 2nd place in Group A, or Group C. So no matter what, we know we're in playoffs. With that said, we're coming. We're not sitting back. Trust me, we're going to go all out for this one.
Yeah, looking like I already got that spot looked up. It's like an NFL Week 17 kind of outlook there.
Yeah, we're going to rest our starters this week. We need to make sure no injuries take place, no carpal tunnel sets in.
But for El Matador, with RGV forfeiting, El Matador could take third place.
They
in
could
Group D.
sneak. They could sneak very easily in there. But again, we've shown we can play very well. We've also shown we can play not very well. So, it's gonna be a good matchup. That's all I have to say about that. It's going to be a good matchup, and I do genuinely wish El Matador the best of luck. And I'm sorry for what's about to happen.
Oh, dang, already. Well, now I really hope El Matador beat you. I'm just kidding.
See, the best thing is they won't get to see this likely until after the matchup happens. So there's no added fuel to the fire. Now I just gave death incentive to go ahead and get this up early.
Oh, 100%. I'm supporting that initiative and telling Luis already. I'm in DMs right now saying, yeah, hey, Sean is absolutely ripping you apart.
That is not what happened. Hold on. Wait a second here.
I know. I just got to add,
add that gasoline to the fire. Yeah. That's fine. That's fine.
But yes, quality matchup there. And then the next two matchups we have, I mean, they're self-explanatory. Black Army versus Tigers SG. The battle of the LAFC supporters groups going up against each other. That's for pride of which supporters group is the best in Rocket League.
And here's what's interesting about this matchup. Let's say that Black Army take all three from Tigers. Now, it's a pretty big ask. But at the same time, Black Army do have 8 points on the season. They've shown that they've become a pretty good team in the league, last week showing how good they can be. If they can manage to take all three off Tigers, that sets up this next final matchup. Just like that what we were talking about in the prior one in SGL 1. Anything can happen. And we could see NYC 12 potentially leapfrog back into first place in Group D. I mean, what? I didn't think that this was possible, and then here we are.
Yeah, I mean, not as crazy as SGL1 has established, but hey, this is positioning we're talking about. We could be seeing El Matador in third. We could be seeing potentially either Viking Army moving up to third after this week, depending on how things go, or going to fifth because the NYC 12 back in first in the group. There's a whole bunch of situations that can happen. So this positioning and how it's going to format, it's just huge because that sets up the final matchup of Viking Army versus NYC 12. The New York Derby, NYCFC, Red Bulls. Well, Viking Army, haven't seen too much for them. But NYC 12, they gotta be angry after this past matchup with Tigers SG. And I know it's a derby. Some may not see it as that. But I think mostly they're just looking, we gotta get back on track with this one.
I mean, I have to believe that NYC 12 are going to take all three from Viking Army in this battle of the boroughs, if you will. But man, knowing that NYC 12 are likely to take all three, on the off chance that Tigers only take one from Black Army, that again that'll make that matchup come down, or that they'll be tied, and that'll make that come down to goal differential at the end, and man, just craziness all around. And then Viking Army are only technically 2 points out from Black Army, so they could move into third technically if they were to sweep NYC 12. Sorry, I'm not trying to laugh at Viking Army's chances of doing this, but we saw NYC 12 drop points to Tigers SG last week, all three of them. So there's a chance. It exists. It is right there for the taking. Come out and play the way that we know you can, Fugim and in Flavor Purple. We know you guys are capable.
Give me that 3 of Fugim, Flavor Purple, and Steezy McGee. You guys are cracked. Get back out there.
Just play like we know you're capable of playing, and you guys can take it. Absolutely. Man, I just, once again, it didn't, looking at them kind of from the outside looking in, not really thinking through the different permutations. The top 4 feel like they're pretty well secured, with RGV Stampede having to forfeit this week. That means that the top 4 are, nobody else is going to get into the top 2 of each group. Those are locked. Those are done. Mm-hmm. But those spots after the top 2 are completely up for grabs all the way across the board, with the only lone exception of Los Verdes Dos because they forfeit out the entire season. I mean, just, yeah, what else do you have to say? And I want to bring one thing up real quick, and I think it's important to note this because it does speak to a bit of unexpected unfairness in the league. Pride 812 did not ever get to play against Los Verdes Dos in the schedule. So they didn't get the benefit of the automatic forfeit, whereas Elmwood got the automatic forfeit from Pride 812, if I remember correctly. Or they'll get it. Sorry, not Pride 812. Elmwood will get it this week from Los Verdes Dos. So just keep that in mind. Like, that actually does hold some intrigue to itself, because Pride 812 have a bit of something to say about that, because if everybody else is getting it, or at least half of the league half of SGL1 is getting the benefit of the automatic forfeit from Los Verdes Dos, and we're not, and we're sitting on lower points, and we're only 3 points away, then that 3 points makes a huge difference. So, scheduling matters to some extent, and I didn't expect that to necessarily be the case coming into Week 6, to have so much on the line in Week 6 in SGL2.
Yeah, those bottom 4 slots, the way they're working out, I mean, besides, as you mentioned before, Los Verdes Dos, who knows? It's all up for grabs. And you can always catch it this coming Saturday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/supporters gaming league. Catch out all those matchups, those 4 matchups for SGL2, as we go through the final week of the regular season, and then probably eventually at the next episode, probably doing a little playoff preview. But yeah, ton of interesting matchups to see how these playoffs will shape up, and all we can do now is just sit back and watch. And that about wraps it up for SGL2. And thank you for viewing the breakdown. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Supporters Gaming League YouTube channel to keep up with the new episodes of the breakdown. Be sure to catch live SGL action on twitch.tv/supporters gaming league on Friday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. And that was for League 1. And on Saturday for League 2 action, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Follow SGL on Twitter at SupportersGL, Instagram at Supporters Gaming League, and sgleague.online, working on stuff right now, for all player news and stats. And thank you all, and we'll see you in the next episode.